For our presentation today, we'll start out with giving a review of how our study areas were selected and a little bit about the site selection process. We'll then get into talking about the criteria. So for those that have sat in on previous sessions, the first few slides may be a bit of a review. So starting out with SaskPower's timeline for the project, currently, SaskPower is in a multi-year planning and development phase that will inform a decision on whether or not to build an SMR in 2029. So you'll see that decision marker there on the calendar there. The key early project objectives that I thought we should highlight is our SMR technology selection was announced recently in June. So the GE Hitachi BWRX 300 technology was selected following a technology evaluation. Our technically suitable areas for potential siting were announced this past September. Looking ahead, we expect to complete the detailed planning for the development of a license to prepare a site and an environmental impact assessment in 2023. And our submission of an initial project description to the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada is forecasted for early 2024. Our final site selection is forecasted near the end of 2024. So in 2021, we started the planning phase for nuclear power with SMRs. We know that it's going to be a long process that's going to take up to 9 years to get through. As I mentioned, we won't be making a decision about whether to build an SMR until 2029, but one of the first things that we're going to need is to find a site. We believe we'll be ready to select a site by the end of 2024. And that said, that timing could creep into early 2025 while acquiring final approvals to purchase that land. The site selection decision is needed to support the impact assessment we'll be required to go through. We will have to go through a full provincial and federal impact assessment. We'll also need to start the licensing process towards acquiring the license to prepare a site and the license to construct from the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. As you're aware, there's a lot of technical and environmental studies that are required to ensure safety and viability of the project and the site we would potentially select. So site selection criteria. We've done a lot of work over the last year to understand the requirements of the SMR technology itself, Canada's nuclear regulations and standards, as well as SaskPower's own business considerations and learnings from our past power projects. We do have our longer list of regional criteria to share that we've developed that we'll review within the later slides. But some of the key siting criteria that were used in the regional assessment, we've summarized here at a very high level. So nuclear power stations need access to a large body of water, like a lake or reservoir, that can provide a cooling water supply for the power plant, very similar to how we operate our coal plants today. The location should be close to existing transmission infrastructure or near areas where we have a higher demand for power in the province. It's also important to be able to attract and sustain a workforce to construct and operate the plant over the long term. Services to support a workforce are also considered. So like transportation or emergency services, which can help supplement operations. So an example of that, so if we have fire protection locally that can help supplement with our operation models, this helps make that region attractive. We have and will continue to map out environmentally sensitive lands and habitat, as well as archaeological and heritage resources to minimize impacts. So with this work, and after a lot of research and analysis, we identified 2 regions that meet our technical criteria and can support the project. So these 2 study areas, which we believe to be a good fit, they have the most opportunity and least amount of risk, and have been identified near Estevan and Elbow. So looking at these maps a little closer, this map provides an outline of the area we're considering in the Elbow study area. The inner ring with the orange solid line you see here in the middle is the location we'll be studying for the potential siting of the SMR. That potential siting area shows a 10-kilometer radius around the water body, which in this case is Lake Diefenbaker. The outer ring you see, that gray dotted line, including the gray shading around the inner ring, depicts a 30-kilometer radius around the potential siting area. So we're calling this the proposed study area. Federal regulations for projects like this one, they require we study a much larger area than the site itself. So in this case, we're starting off by casting that to about 30 kilometers. But this may change as we engage and learn more about these areas, and it'll become more finalized as we go through the impact assessment process. So that boundary could change, and it could be expanded or could come in a little bit too, depending on how we engage with those conversations. This map here outlines the other areas we're considering, which we've termed as the Estevan area. So the other potential siting areas are depicted by the solid orange line ring again, showing that 10-kilometer radius, but this time around the Rafferty and Boundary Dam reservoirs and the Grant Devine Lake. Again, that outer dotted gray line is the same here. It depicts a 30-kilometer radius around the potential siting areas. So going back to our timeline, SASPAR is currently evaluating each study area in more detail so to determine the location options for an SMR. This evaluation process will help us gather more information about what matters to municipalities, residents, stakeholders, and rights holders. We will be ensuring leaders and residents are well informed and have a voice in the process. Our siting decision for the project has the potential to adversely impact treaty and Aboriginal rights. And so for this reason, SASPAR has a duty to consult and accommodate potentially impact First Nations and Métis locals. The consultation will focus on how rights are exercised in the proposed region so that project siting will avoid or mitigate any potential adverse impacts. SaskPower triggered the duty to consult and has contacted those who are located near the study areas or known to exercise rights in and around the areas. Siting criteria and tools. So one of our major initiatives was to complete that regional assessment that served requirements under the nuclear industry acceptable quality management system. To support that effort, we pulled together a project sightings requirements report, which was a review of siting design requirements, which helped inform the basis of some of our criteria. We've characterized our regional setting criteria using the GoldSet decision support tool through Golder Associates. That GoldSet software allows the comparison of option performance against environmental, social, and technical criteria, which then allows for a robust sensitivity analysis that can be understood and documented. SASPAR does want feedback on our siting criteria. In the slides ahead, near the end of the presentation, there'll be a bit of opportunity to weigh in and let us know your thoughts on each of the themes of criteria displayed here. So you can see that they're divided between environmental, social, cultural, and technical there. So there's many social and technical studies that are required to support the siting effort. We've talked a bit about each of these on this list, with the exception of the regional evaluation process, as we call the REP. Allison will be taking us through the REP in detail over the next few slides. Those of us on the team here at SASPAR are really excited about this process. It's essentially a powerful tool used to not only engage and share information about the project and the site selection process, but it also gives us the opportunity to capture feedback on that siting criteria, which is key. And to you, Allison.
Thanks, Sarah. As Sarah mentioned, one of the ways that we are gathering information on siting criteria is from a process that SaskPower developed termed the Regional Evaluation Process. Next slide, please. The Regional Evaluation Process, or REP, is an engagement tool to support our site selection work. The REP has been created to achieve two primary objectives. One is to share information about the project with potentially affected Indigenous groups, organizations, and stakeholders in or near the Estevan and Elbow study areas, and to collect input and feedback from these groups on regional and local criteria for SMR site selection. The REP is important as it provides the project team with guidance that is inclusive and well informed from Indigenous groups, regional, and stakeholder organizations within the study area. Next slide, please. This is a schedule of what our regional evaluation process looks like. So far, we are on track. We have had workshop number one, in both regions at the end of November, and workshop 2 is planned for later this month, where we will continue the process to scope the report and develop further information through a series of additional workshops, as indicated on the screen. All meetings are held in person near the region to minimize travel required by participating organizations. The key deliverable of this initiative is a final report from the two committees to SaskPower that documents the input and feedback from local and regional stakeholders. All the information that the committees receive can be found on our website at saskpower.com/nuclear. If you scroll down to the potential facility location tab, all of our information is located there. It will be posted following the committee workshop, so about 1 to 2 weeks later. And our website that I just indicated also has the schedule for when those workshops are planned for. Next slide, please. We wanted to provide you with a little bit of information on who's involved to date. So to support this process, we have established 2 committees, one in each study area. So the numbers on the screen here are per committee. We also think it's important to reiterate that the committee is not a decision-making body and will not evaluate whether Saskatchewan should proceed with the development of SMRs. However, participating members have the power to share what they know and provide their organization's perspectives to help SaskPower make informed decisions. As you can see, the participant community is made up of a cross-section of various organizations, as well as technical observers who are primarily regulators and government representatives. As mentioned before, you can go see which organization are in each committee as posted on our website.